Hello again, it's Pastor Mark here at Brant Naz of Brantford Church of the Nazarene, and this is my weekly feature of where you are asking me questions about the Christian faith, the Bible, where I take a break from my regular schedule and I share with you some of my thoughts regarding your questions or comments with that. I'm coming to you from this week from my office. I was going to go outside, but it just started to rain out, so I'll talk to you from here. A number of years ago, I was asked, why are there so many translations of the Bible? Why are there so many translations of the Bible? Well, a number of years ago, I was participating in a Bible study, and one of the people who was reading in that Bible study, I wasn't familiar with the translation they were reading from. So I asked him, I said, well, what translation are you reading from? And he looked at the front of his Bible, and in bright gold lettering in the front of his Bible, it said, Holy Bible. He says, I'm reading from the Holy Bible. Well, many Bibles are titled Holy Bibles, but that's not referring necessarily to their translation. There's a number of, in fact, in English right now, there's thought to be over 100 different English translations of the Bible that we have there. But before I go into a bit of that, let me just back up a little bit. But I guess historically speaking, I'm going to back up quite a bit. The Bible wasn't written as a single book. Rather, it's a collection of books over hundreds of years, possibly even scholars believe it was 12 or 1300 years, and those writings were gathered together with that. The Bible is divided when it was put together the New Testament was put together in about 200 AD after Jesus, and the whole Bible was put together in about 400 AD. All those writings were gathered. The Bible is divided into two sections, the Old Testament and the New Testament. The Old Testament deals with the time before Jesus, and the New Testament deals with the time of Jesus and following Jesus and the establishment of the first churches had it there. So the Bible has two parts to it. It came together like that. But why are there so many translations today? There's so many translations today. There could be a number of reasons for that. As far as there being so many translations, when the first English translation was made in about 1300, but then the second translation, or the main translation that we know, is the King James Version, which became the standard bearer for approximately 300 years, was written in the 1500s. And it was written in Old English, Old Shakespearean English. And it became the standard, like I said, the standard bearer for a few hundred years. But then in about the 1950s, a number of other English translations started to develop. Now, one of the reasons they started to develop is because in 1947, a series of scrolls were found by a Bedouin shepherd boy just not far from the Dead Sea, which separates Jordan, the border of Jordan and Israel. The scrolls were found there. And the scholars decided over the years of a number of different English versions to write. Probably the most popular of that has been a New International Version that has probably sold the most copies of that. The Bible itself is the #1 selling book and distributing book in the whole world. Guinness Book of Records listed as something like 5 billion copies have been sold and distributed throughout the world. But these English translations started basically for two reasons. One is some were written from a scholarly perspective, more of a literal translation, but some were written to have easier English in them. English that could flow better when we read them. I know for myself, the first Bible that I was ever given was the King James Version. Even to this day, I find difficulty reading it because that old Shakespearean English, they use words that we don't use today, and I find it very difficult to read. So over the years, a number of different translations in English have been made for that. So you need to look at a translation that helps you. Does it, if you're looking for a Bible to read? Does the language flow for you? What are you reading the Bible for? Are you reading it for study purposes, or are you reading it for personal growth and development? Just reading it devotionally, say. That might dictate what Bible you choose to read. I would suggest what you do is, if you're trying to decide on a Bible to read, is go online and check out Bibles. There's an app on mobile devices, and you can get it on the computer too. Just Google search YouVersion. It has been downloaded millions of times, and there are all sorts of English translations on it. So start to look at that and decide what translation. But once you've decided on the translation, you need to decide on what kind of Bible you might want. Today there are Bibles for just about everything. There's study Bibles, there's Bibles for women, Bibles for men, Bibles for children. I even found a Bible called the Lego Bible. I guess it was to attract children. There's a Sunday school curriculum publisher that every week they produce a sort of a comic strip handout that they give to the kids that features the Bible story that they have that week. Well, they've compiled all of those. They've got about 90 popular Bible stories in there, and they've combined it into a Bible. And it's very attractive to children. It can be a good Bible for the first. It's called a beginner's Bible when they put it together. It can be very attractive for children to start reading when they get their first Bible, say. But I suggest that. Decide what translation you want, and then start looking at, if you want a hard copy of the Bible, what type of Bible? Do you want a study Bible? Do you want a devotional Bible? There's also Bibles that are used, some are translations, some are paraphrases. The paraphrase is trying to convey to you the thought that's being portrayed, where the translation is more focused on the translation of the language itself. So you can look for a translation or a paraphrase to do that. Paraphrases tend to be more for devotional reading, personal enrichment, and studying tend to be, I use a study Bible or a translation of a Bible when I'm preparing for teaching. I went through a period where I was using a paraphrase for my personal reading. Now I kind of use a hybrid, what I call a hybrid cross between the translation and a paraphrase for my personal reading, but I still use a translation when I'm preparing for study. But there's a verse in the Bible that says that the Word of God, meaning the Bible, is sharper than a two-edged sword, able to pierce through marrow and soul and spirit. And so it is living. So the Word of God is living, sharper than a two-edged sword, able to pierce through soul and spirit. So the Word of God, when we take ourselves to the Word of God, it can change us. The longest chapter in the Bible is Psalm 119. And Psalm 119 has well over 20 reasons or ways that the Word of God, the Bible, can impact us. So I would close today and encourage you, take yourself to the Bible. Go online, check out Bibles. Go online and you can even download copies of the Bible and use it either digitally. If you want a hard copy, you might want to consider going into a store that sells Bibles and spend some time looking through them and choose which one suits you the best to do that. But take yourself to the Word of God, take yourself to the Bible, and be changed by it. Well, thank you again for joining me for this time of Take a Break with Pastor Mark, as I've taken a break from my regular schedule and responded to your questions. And if you have any questions or comments to me about the Christian faith or about the Bible, I would encourage you, contact me either through the comment box, or you can private message me or email me at brantnasmark, that's all one word, brantnasmark@gmail.com, and ask me your questions through that avenue. But until next week when we meet again, just may the Lord bless you, and may the Lord keep you, and may the Lord shine his face upon you.